The political history of the United States is often narrated as a story of progress, reform, and the steady expansion of democratic ideals. Yet, when one looks more closely, it becomes clear that American democracy has advanced in cycles rather than along a straight line. Transformative moments, where bold presidents introduce sweeping reforms, are frequently followed by periods of reaction, when other leaders seek to slow down, redirect, or even undo those changes. These figures can be described as backlash presidents, leaders who rise to power not primarily to innovate, but to resist and reassert older orders in the face of transformation. Examining this pattern sheds light on the rhythm of American political development, where progress is never secure and reaction remains a constant possibility. In political science, backlash refers to a forceful reaction against rapid or radical change. In the United States, such reactions often emerge when reforms threaten entrenched interests, long-standing cultural norms, or the privileges of particular groups. Backlash presidents embody this resistance at the highest level of government. They do not merely express conservatism. They channel anxiety, resentment, and nostalgia into policies that seek to restore a vision of stability or tradition. Their elections are moments when the electorate signals unease with the pace or direction of transformation. Backlash cannot be understood without reference to the transformative leaders who precede it. Transformative presidents are those who expand the boundaries of political possibility. Abraham Lincoln redefined the Union during the Civil War and initiated the abolition of slavery. Franklin D. Roosevelt used the New Deal to redefine the role of the federal government during the Great Depression. Lyndon B. Johnson advanced civil rights and launched ambitious social programs under the banner of the Great Society. These presidents changed the rules of the game, but their boldness also provoked resistance that backlash presidents would later exploit. The first clear instance of backlash can be seen in the aftermath of the Civil War. Lincoln's transformative leadership and the Reconstruction amendments promised an expanded democracy. Yet, after his assassination and a brief period of radical reform, presidents such as Rutherford B. Hayes oversaw the end of Reconstruction through the Compromise of 1877. Federal troops withdrew from the South, and white supremacist regimes reasserted power, laying the foundation for nearly a century of Jim Crow segregation. Here we see the classic pattern, a moment of democratic expansion swiftly followed by institutional retrenchment under the cover of presidential leadership. The early 20th century witnessed another transformative impulse in the form of the Progressive Era. Presidents such as Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson sought to regulate industry, expand democracy through reforms like the direct election of senators, and Project American Power abroad. Yet even here, backlash was embedded in the story. Wilson himself, despite being a progressive reformer in some areas, presided over the segregation of federal workplaces and reinforced racial hierarchies. Backlash does not always arrive in the form of a single president opposed to reform. It can also take the form of a president who blends progressivism with reactionary policies, advancing in some areas while reinforcing traditional structures in others. Franklin Roosevelt's presidency remains one of the most transformative in U.S. history. The New Deal redefined the social contract, creating programs for relief, recovery, and reform. Yet, almost immediately, backlash forces mobilized. Business elites decried Roosevelt as a threat to capitalism, and conservative coalitions sought to limit the reach of federal power. In the decades that followed, presidents such as Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon positioned themselves as moderates or conservatives, managing the legacy of the New Deal. Nixon, for example, accepted many welfare state programs, but simultaneously pursued a Southern strategy that capitalized on white resentment toward civil rights reforms. His presidency illustrates how backlash can take the form of cultural and racial politics rather than an outright dismantling of economic reforms. Lyndon Johnson's presidency marked a high point of progressive transformation. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the ambitious expansion of social programs under the Great Society changed the fabric of American life. But Johnson's bold agenda also triggered one of the most significant backlashes in modern history, beginning with Richard Nixon and culminating in